ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 27 रज्जुसर्पवदात्मानं जीवं ज्ञात्वा भयं वहेत् नाहं जीवः परात्मेति ज्ञातश्चेन्निर्भयो भवेत्. So Atmanam Jivam Jnatva. So erroneously, claiming oneself as a Jiva. Bhayam Vahet, there will be a constant fear. Fear is an instinctive problem. And it is there. Insecurity, is a fundamental, instinctive problem. And so there will be a constant fear. As a Karta, I have a constant fear. As a Bhokta, I have a constant fear. As a Jnata, as a knower, I have a constant fear. And I am subject to all these karmas, sanchita, etc. And Jara is going to come. Old age is going to come. In Vairagya Shatakam, Bhartrihari says, Vyagri iva tishtati jara paritarjayanti. Vyagri. So Vyagri means, Vyagraha means tiger. Vyagri means tigress. So this Jara, old age, is standing outside and she is a tigress and iva tishtati jara paritarjayanti. As though it is, it is ready to capture me. It is making me frightened. Paritarjayanti means basically to threaten. Pari plus tarja dhatu. So it gives that meaning. Anyway, so better give up this jivatva. That disown Chidabhasa. You have taken yourself as a Chidabhasa. You should not have taken, but you have taken. But Swamiji, then who is responsible for that? That I take myself as a Chidabhasa. Ignorance is responsible. Then who is responsible for ignorance? You are not responsible. Okay, then I am also not taking responsibility for, taking myself as a Jiva or a Chidabhasa. Abhasa, one should not claim Abhasa. One should not claim a Mithya thing. Definitely. So, and allow Chidabhasa to take its own course, that will remain. If you disown the Chidabhasa, Chidabhasa will not disappear. It will remain. Because the medium is there. Medium will remain. So, Chidabhasa will remain. These bodies will be there. And it is under the control of this Prarabdha, etc. And therefore, Chidabhasa also will remain. But don't claim, I am not Chidabhasa. That's all. I am not Jiva. I am not Karta. I am not Bhokta. I am not Jnata, etc. So, if this is known to you, then Jnataschet. There are two readings in that. Some people will have a reading Jnataha Chet. Jnataschet. Or some people will have a Jnatam Chet. Both are correct. Nothing to worry about. And so Jnataschet, that I am not Jiva, etc. If this is known to you. Then, but who are you then? Paratma, Paramatma, Paratma. Which is superior. Paramatma. I am consciousness which is asanga from all this this prapancha, or this Riputi. Well, I am not Jnata and well, definitely not Jnatam, and I mean the known, and I am distinct from knower, known, and knowledge. So, like the waker is basically can't be waker is not an object of a dream action. Waker is not a subject of a dream action. Waker is not an instrument of dream action, and but still waker supports the entire dream world. Okay, so in the dream world, whoever is telling that I am, or I am a conscious being, or I am a human being, that I am belongs to waker. Yeah, in dream, suppose one person is giving introduction to other person that I am so and so, so and so, and I have 2 children and I am married person. That I am belongs to waker. Everything other than that, later whatever he says belongs to dream world. Could you follow what I am saying? And therefore I am belongs to basically waker. Because waker has the whole dream prapancha has borrowed the sentiency from the waker. Waker has given blended, basically this consciousness to it, and existence also. Existence of the entire dream prapancha is because of waker only. So I am not an instrument, I am not an object, I am not a subject. That is waker can say very well of the dream world. Same way here also, I can very well say in this waking world also, I am not a subject of the knowledge, not an object of the knowledge, I am not the very process of the knowledge, I don't do any kind of a transaction. And knowing this, well, nirbhayo bhavet, I am just a Paramatma, like a waker, I am definitely asanga and free from all this. Free from basically, nirbhaya means free from anxiety, stress, strain, etc. He becomes free from that. So that we have seen yesterday. Now let's go to verse number 28. Atmavabhasayatyekah buddhyadinindriyanyapi deepo gatadivat svatma jadaistairnavabhasyate. So in previous verse, it is mentioned that one should know Atma to gain the freedom. One should know Paratma or Atma to gain the freedom. Now to know the Atma, Atma has to become an object of knowledge. That is where the problem starts now. So to know the Atma, like to know the clip has to become an object of knowledge. Same way, you say you should know Atma now. Because you should not take this Chidabhasa or Jiva as yourself, you should take Atma or Paratma as yourself. Well, it means I should know myself. So then Atma has to become an object of knowledge. If it is so, then definitely we require subject. Okay, the object of knowledge is for whom? Is ultimately for the subject. If Atma has to become an object of knowledge, then who will be subject? That's a question now. So status of object depends upon the subject. Clip becomes an object of knowledge, well definitely then I am the subject of knowing the clip. So say, because someone has to objectify the clip ultimately. Anyway, so if Atma has to become an object of knowledge, who will be the subject of knowledge? Who will be the knower? Who will be knower? So then there are two things. If Atma has to become an object of knowledge, other than Atma there is another, only thing is Anatma. Right? Therefore, Anatma has to know the Atma. What are you talking? Who can know the Atma? Anatma can know the Atma. There is the second group is that only. So and therefore, Anatma, what is Anatma? But Anatma can be classified into, here of course we can say the world or Shariram or the mind. So either mind will know the Atma, either Shariram will know Atma or the world will know Atma. Shankaracharya ji says, all the three cannot work in case of knowing Atma. They are inert by themselves and so they are Jadam, and this Jada and Atma can never know Chetanatma. How will you say they are Jadam? So our 5 factors you have to remember, right? Your 5 factors. What are the 5 factors? Or 4 factors, whatever. First thing is, we can call anything Jadam or Anatma because it is basically an object of knowledge. That's how we call it. It is a Drishyam. Second thing, it is made up of 5 elements. It is bhautikam. Third thing is it is constantly changing. It is subject to modification. Fourth thing is it is temporary. All these things apply to jada. Well, and therefore, either whether it is a world, whether it is a body, whether it is a mind, all these four factors can be applied. Mind is object of knowledge. Mind is made up of subtle elements. So, bhautika. Mind is constantly changing. Mind is a temporary thing. Temporary. It comes and goes. In one state of experience it is there, in another state of experience it is not there. Well, so mind is jadam. Any jadam thing cannot know conscious entity. Jadam thing cannot know anything. Why conscious? Jadam thing cannot know anything. Inert thing cannot know anything. Well, then second is shariram. Shariram is the object of knowledge. Definitely, I am tall, for etc. I can tell. So shariram also is an object of knowledge. Shariram is made up of 5 elements, and shariram gross elements. And then shariram can be, the physical body is constantly undergoing change. Yeah. And physical body is temporary, available in a given state of experience, not available in another state of experience. Physical body is only available when I want to experience physical world. So only in the waking state it is available. This body is not available in other 2 states. And so it is temporary also. And therefore it is jadam. Once you label it as a jadam, means it cannot know any other thing. And therefore definitely, and the world definitely, world cannot know me. World cannot know the consciousness. World also is made up of the same thing. It is object of knowledge, and it is made up of elements, and it is made up of, it is constantly undergoing change. That is how we call Jagat. The word Jagat itself indicates it is constantly changing. Jayate, Ja means Jayate, and Ga means Gacchati. So Jayate Gacchati, which is born, gone. So constantly undergoing change. And Jagat is also temporary. This physical world is not available in deep sleep state, in dream state also. And therefore, well, definitely, so world, shariram and the mind, all these 3 are jadam and anatma. Well, definitely they are inert by themselves. They can never get a status of knower. And therefore entire anatma prapancha, well, atma and anatma, 2 things are there. If atma has to be known, well, it should become an object of knowledge, then anatma only has to know. But anatma cannot know. Anatma can never become knower. So, in fact, on the other hand, all the 3 are known by the atma. And therefore, position cannot be reversed. This position, knower is a knower, known is a known. That position cannot be reversed. Known becomes a knower, and knower becomes a known. Atma knower becomes knower. Atma knower becomes known, and this body or the mind, etc., which is known actually, becomes knower. That position will never get reversed. Known is known, knower is knower. Because one is jadam, jadam can never know. One which is inert by nature can never know the anything by Atma. Anything it cannot know. So Atma cannot be known. That's all it is. So that is what says in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Vignataram kena vijaniyat. Who will know this, the knower of everything? Atma can't be the object of knowledge. This is the essence of this verse. So let's see the verse. Atma avabhasayati. Atma illumines. What? Buddhi, buddhyadini indriyani api. Buddhyadini. Buddhi, etc. I mean everything. And indriyani, senses also. Entire anatma, consisting of this world, mind and senses, what we said, which are jadam in nature, well, they Atma avabhasayati. Atma basically illumines all of them, and they are object of knowledge, and therefore they can never, they are inert, and therefore they cannot know the Atma. Okay, now we have got another doubt. Okay, Atma knows Anatma. That is okay? Yeah, that is okay. Anatma cannot know Atma. That is okay? Yeah, that is okay. Then, but let's take that way. Why can't my Atma knows your Atma? Let's keep that way. So, we will naturally know each other mutually. Let's say, know each other. Let's keep it like that. No, because Atma is one. And when you say I know you, people say no, I know you very well, Swamiji. So what they know is basically Anatma only. They know my mind, they know my physical body, or they know my senses, etc. Whatever. I mean, through the inference. Basically, you can never objectify consciousness. Never objectify consciousness. And there is one Atma. There is a question of my Atma and your Atma. One limitless I pervades everyone. In one limitless consciousness, all are there. All. My mind, your mind. My physical body, your physical body. My senses, your senses are there in one limitless consciousness. All are pervaded by one limitless consciousness. And therefore, whatever the I arises in various beings, basically, that I is ultimately leading to one consciousness only. And therefore, that's how there is no question of knowing your Atma by my Atma, etc. Also, that is not correct. So, unfortunately or fortunately, it is one. So, Swatma taihi jadaihi na avabhasyate. Swatma, one's own self, that is Atma, we can say. Atma is never known. Taihi jadaihi. Taihi means all this, and they are jadam, or indriyani, buddhi, etc., or deha, etc., or a world. All this cannot know Atma. But can't I know myself in meditation? Can I know the Atma or not in meditation? By my mind? Well, definitely it is not possible, because mind is basically an object of experience for you. That mind cannot know you. And here it gives an example. Deepaha gatadivat, like Deepa, the lamp, which is lit, of course, illumines all objects in this hall. So it is luminous. And all other objects are non-luminous in the hall. So, definitely, in night you can definitely check who illumines what. So first don't lamp, lit the lamp, and there is a darkness in the hall. Let's say the light is also not there, electricity is not there, and see whether your body illumines other people or other things or not. And you find it is not. Body is non-luminous. Your mind is non-luminous, basically, and therefore ultimately the lamp only illumines everything, and other objects are also non-luminous. So the lamp which is luminous can illumine every other thing. Luminous one illumines non-luminous, and therefore you cannot say other way around, that a non-luminous thing can illumine a luminous thing, cannot be there. Otherwise, when you will go away, the lamp will become dark. That will never happen. And so, two statements we can derive from this example, that lamp is ever illuminated, one thing, and lamp is never illumined. So, two things we can derive. Same way for Atma. Atma is like a lamp. So, Atma is ever illuminator, ever experiencer, ever knower, never known. And second thing, lamp is never illumined, that we said. Same way, we can say Atma is never illumined. Atma cannot be known by anybody, anything else, which are all non-luminous, which are inert, basically. So, this is what we have derived from this verse. Now, let's go to verse 29. Svabodhena anyabodhecha bodharupatayatmanah na deepasya anyadipecha yatha svatma prakashane. So actually verse number 28 and 29 goes together. So in verse 28 Shankaracharya said Atma cannot be known, right? That's what he said. Now in verse 29 he says Atma need not be known. First thing he said, Atma cannot be known by all this anatma. Now he says Atma need not be known at all. So what happens is, you have to know something to prove its existence. That's a condition. Knowing is a condition for proving the existence of anything. Knowing is a precondition, I mean. So if something is not known by anybody at any time, at any place, well, how will we prove its existence? Very difficult to prove the existence. So existence becomes doubtful. That's what we have seen in the Panchadashi also. If a particular thing is not known by anybody at any time, at any place, or at any time, not in past, present or future, and not by anybody also, then how will you know the thing is there? So knowing is a precondition for proving the existence of a given thing. Otherwise that thing becomes non-existent for us. It remains non-existent. So Shankaracharya says here, Atma is one whose existence need not be proved at all. Why? Because Atma is that conscious principle who is trying to prove the existence of everything, and therefore its own existence is evident. Atma prove its own existence, being self-evident. What is self-evident will prove its own existence. That's how we call Atma is self-existent. Because the evidence of Atma, for the evidence of Atma, Atma has not to depend upon any factor. For evidence of Atma, Atma is not to depend upon even so-called means of knowledge also. And therefore, definitely, Atma is ever evident, self-evident, and therefore its existence also is self-existent. It need not have to be proved by any other means of knowledge. And let's take an example. Like we are going on a tour. Suppose there are 100 people and we are going on a tour. And one person keeps a checklist. And so he wants to make it correct, everybody is present. So nobody has answered, because we are going by bus. So before departing, we want to make sure that everybody is present. So then that person who is a checker, who proves the existence of everyone, presence of everyone. So I have to check and tick the presence of all except one person. Except one person. Suppose 100 people are there, definitely my name is there. Suppose I am a checker, then I will check the presence of all the people, 99 people, and definitely the very possibility of checking arises because I am the checker is already existent. So without requiring to prove my arrival, I check the arrival of everybody, but I need not check the arrival of myself, right? I need not check arrival of myself. So same way, Atma is a consciousness which is evident in all of us as I. In fact, when he was checking, or let's say I am a checker, when I was checking the presence of all, right? And at that time itself, in checking the presence of all, my checking was already done. My presence is already done. Otherwise, who will check? So, the checker's presence is there in every checking of, in checking of every person. Could you follow what I am saying? The checker's presence is proven in every checking of every person. And therefore, I need not have to prove at all myself. Seeing takes place right now. Yeah, I am able to see. Okay, you are consciousness. So consciousness need not be brought as an object. Well, you say I am able to see, I am able to hear, I am able to talk, I am able to think. So the seeing proves proves the evidence of consciousness, and talking proves the evidence of talking automatically proves the existence of consciousness, and hearing proves the existence of consciousness. Well, anyway, so I ever experience this principle in all the experiences is this Atma, and therefore Atma can't be objectified, need not be objectified also. So in experience of the first object, self-experience is already there. In experience of second object, self-experience is already there. In experience of third object, self-experience is already there, right? Therefore, I need not have to prove myself. Like this person, when he was checking the presence of people, and he was ticking, so in that, his presence is already proven. The checker's presence is already proven. So definitely, I am the conscious being who is evident all the time, and therefore I am self-evident, and therefore self-existence. So our self proves its own existence by being evident constantly. Self has not to be, the checker has not to prove his own presence. While he was checking other 99 people, his presence was there all the time. That's how we will have to say. So object experience comes and goes, and definitely, but the subject experience will never come and go. It is always ease. When I am experiencing I'm in a camera, I am, already it is proven. When I am experiencing the sunlight right now, I am already there. So this is how it says here. So I need not be basically illumined by any other thing in the world. It may be a deha, it may be senses, it may be a mind, it may be a world. I don't require it because I am self-evident. Other things are not self-evident. That is what the nature of the world is, or nature of inert thing is. Inert things require basically to make them evident by a conscious entity. But conscious being does not require any other thing to make the Atma evident. So, or to make the conscious being evident. So, Swabodhe, Shankaracharya ji says, Swabodhe, for self-experience, Anyabodha Ichha Nasti. So, there is no requirement of a Anyabodha. There is no requirement of any special cognition. Separate knowing process is not required. We call it as a Pramana Vyapara. Pramana Vyapara means basically employing your senses or employing your inference, employing your perception. Nothing is required. In fact, behind all the means of knowledge, you are there to operate. You are there. A conscious being is there to operate all means of knowledge. That is a perception. Behind that, basically, I am there as a conscious being. And behind inference, I am there. Behind, presumption, I am there. Even employing words, right? Employing words as a means of knowledge. Before that, I am there to employ them. And therefore, definitely, I basically illumine all the means of knowledge. I only make them, I operate, and in order to impart the knowledge, etc. And therefore, basically, I am not illumined by the senses or the other means of knowledge. Anyabodha Ichha means need of this special process, or yesterday we saw that separate knowing process, etc. is not required. The knower is required, but the very knower, existence of the knower, Chidabhasa itself, is proven by the consciousness. I am that consciousness. Definitely, Chidabhasa, the knower itself, is dependent upon me. I am the witness of basically this, even the knower who is there in the knowing process. So, need of the special process of experience or a cognition or an effort of cognition, etc., is not required. Basically, why? Because Atmanaha Bodha Rupataya, Atmanaha Chaitanya Rupataya, consciousness is ever experienced by me. And here, of course, the same example has been taken, but it's a little extension. So earlier we said that luminous lamp illumines non-luminous thing or non-luminous objects. So they can't illumine basically Atma. We have seen also non-luminous thing cannot illumine Atma. And what are the non-luminous things? That also we have seen: world, mind and body. They cannot illumine the Atma. And where it is said in the previous verse, Jadaihi, Taihi, Jadaihi, na avabhasyate, they are all inert, they cannot illumine this Atma. So that was the thing. Now here he says, and there the lamp example is given. The lamp is self-luminous, it illumines every other thing. That non-luminous thing cannot illumine the lamp. Same way, now he extends that example only. What he says here, na deepasya anya deepa ichha. So earlier he says luminous thing illumines non-luminous. Non-luminous cannot illumine luminous thing. That was a previous example. Now he extends that example and says lamp need not be illumined by another lamp. Could you follow? There is another lamp which is self-luminous. Then earlier he said lamp cannot be illumined by non-luminous. Now here because lamp is self-luminous. Now here he says, well, swatma prakashane, for illumining itself, well, lamp does not require another lamp. So because it is self-luminous. So like a simple thing, you don't require a tube light to illumine the tube light, another tube light. Wow. So well, we understand that much tube light we have, that definitely, so you don't require this tube light to illumine that tube light, basically. That's simple example is like this. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. But why can't we basically, why can't ye Chidabhasa illumines Chaitanya? Or imagine. Because everything is non-luminous, that's all right. But basically, and you say that tube light is not required, this tube light is not required to illumine that tube light, everything, that is fine. I understood. But in case of Atma, well, the Chidabhasa, which is like a conscious entity, why can't it illumine Chaitanya? So that much you accept, that much concession you give us. Well, it is very ridiculous to say that itself. Why? Because like you say, in the sky there is a sun, and down below there is a mirror, right? And there is a reflected sun in the mirror. Now with that reflected sun, can you illumine that original sun? Not. So same way, this reflected consciousness called Chidabhasa cannot illumine Chaitanya. The very existence and illumination of the Chidabhasa is on behalf of Chaitanya, and therefore Chidabhasa cannot illumine Chaitanya. Chidabhasa, well, is illumined by the Chaitanya. I mean, Chidabhasa is sentient or a conscious entity. Well, that is due to a borrowal from the consciousness, that is Chaitanya, and therefore the Chidabhasa cannot illumine Chaitanya. We are removing all the possibilities. Could you follow what I mean? Luminous thing cannot be illumined by non-luminous thing, means Chaitanya cannot be illumined by Jadam. Chaitanya cannot be illumined by Chidabhasa, another conscious entity. There is no other conscious entity, but even with the borrowal also, that Chidabhasa appears as a conscious entity. Well, Jiva illumines this Atma. Why can't we say that way? No, that is also not possible, because Chidabhasa cannot illumine, it is reflected. So you don't require a reflected light to illumine original light, because very existence of the reflected light is due to original light. So you don't require Chidabhasa to illumine Chit. Okay, now we have come to the fundamental question. If Atma cannot be known, and you say need not be known, then why should I attend the classes? Because basically Atma need not be known, means there is no requirement of Atma Jnana. If Atma need not be known, you are saying self-illumining, self-evident, self-existent, and well, then there is no requirement of knowledge of Atma. And therefore your classes give a knowledge of Atma, basically I don't require it. And so then why should I study this Vedanta at all? No requirement of Atma Jnana. So, well, if Atma Jnanam basically is not required, where is the question of studying, etc.? Okay, now let's go for that. That also has been told in the verse number 30. Well, Nishidya Nikhilopadhin Neti Neti Iti Vakyatah Vidyadaikyam Mahavakyaihi Jivatma Paramatmanoho. So if Atma is self-evident and it illumines itself, and it is a consciousness, etc., you are saying I am, I, it, well, definitely, then why do I study the scriptures? But what happens is when I use the word I or the aham, no doubt, well, I, the consciousness, is evident. But other than that, in that self-evident I, there are other things also shining. Other things also become evident along with that consciousness. And therefore that is a problem. Other things are mixed up. What are the things mixed up? Well, physical body basically, see what happens, this physical body, mind, senses, pranas, all this. Subtle body, physical body, and even the causal body. All the bodies basically are mithya. Mithya means they are non-separate from the consciousness, not independent of the Satyam Atma. So if Atma is Satyam and that is very much present in all the three bodies, in the mithya bodies, then what mistake occurs is that body is taken for the Atma and Atma is taken for the body. Because of the ignorance, these bodies are mithya, so non-separate from the Satyam. So wherever the mithya body is, there itself the Satyam is. Wherever the mithya sarpa is, there itself the Rajju is. Wherever the mithya pot is, there itself the Satyam clay is. And therefore, all the three bodies are mithya, non-separate from the Atma. Atma, which is all pervasive, pervades in entire all the three bodies. But due to ignorance of the self, the Atma, I take this body as the Atma, or Atma is taken as the body. And therefore, when I, the consciousness which is self-evident, which shines, all these bodies also shine along with them. They also become evident along with them. And the limitations of our body, etc., also are taken as the limitation of Atma, etc. And so, basically, this my I is not just pure consciousness, limitless consciousness. My I is basically all these three bodies. And I consider myself as a limited being, an individual, etc. And all these bodies, of course, have a borrowed consciousness from me alone, but because of ignorance, I take the body as a myself. And how many items are there now in that I? 5 things are there. Sthula Sharira also is taken as I, Sukshma Sharira is taken as I, Karana Sharira is taken as I, and all the three bodies basically work as a medium of reflection. But Swamiji, Karana Sharira reflection, when it is formed? Since the Karana Sharira is beginningless, the reflection in the Karana Sharira is also beginningless. Reflection in Karana Sharira means what? Reflected consciousness in Karana Sharira. What it is called? Jiva. So Jiva is Anadi. Since the Karana Shariram, the ignorance is Anadi, the reflection in the Karana Shariram also is Anadi. And that's how the reflected consciousness in Karana Shariram, we call it as a Jiva. That is Anadi. But other bodies, when the creation takes place, from that ignorance, Anadi Avidya, basically the subtle body also is born depending upon one's karma and the prarabdha and one's vasanas that were there in the Karana Shariram. All this was unmanifest, and so subtle body arises, and therefore now the consciousness, reflected consciousness also, or the consciousness definitely gets reflected in the subtle body also. And then of course physical body also you are going to get in the creation depending upon your karma and vasana, and so the reflection will be there even in the physical body. So you will take physical body also as I, subtle body also as I, causal body also as I, and basically so 5 things are there: Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram, and definitely reflection, reflected consciousness, we call it as Jiva. And if reflected consciousness is there, definitely what will be there? Chaitanya, consciousness, which is all pervading, which is ever there, which is ever existent, also will be there. So 5 things are there in I. I is equal to Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram, reflected consciousness, and original consciousness. We can call like that, or consciousness. So 3 mediums are there and then because of that a reflected consciousness also is formed. So when I use the word I, all are evident. Not just consciousness is evident, all these things are also evident as I because of the ignorance. All these things also will be there. Like now let's take an example. Like here there is my hand is there. And you know very well, we have seen that example. Two things are there. Even though it looks one hand, but there are two things. There is a hand and there is a light. Right? And both the things are as though mixed up, non-separable. So that's how instead of two we see one thing. But basically when they are non-separate, light and this hand, then definitely light has got a certain attributes of the hand. And hand, basically hand has a location, right? So we feel light also has a location. Light is all pervading here in my room. But we feel, we say light or he's here. So and light and hand both are definitely non-separable. I say hand has a location. So light also has a location. Exactly that is happening. Physical body has a location. I am all pervading. But definitely I, the self-evident Atma, well, because of ignorance and present in the physical body, well, I take myself as a physical body, and then physical body has a location. I say I am also having a location. And everyone has that kind of a consciousness. Everyone is aware that I am located right now in room number so and so of this ashram. Is it there or not? I, the conscious being, is located. Well, you are all pervading. No, I am located here. Basically because of the physical body. Just as light is all pervading in the room, well, it is taken as light is present in the hand. Because the hand has a location, we say light also has a location. All pervading light has a location here. Same way, the consciousness is like a light, all pervading. But it is present in the physical body. Due to ignorance, I taken as a physical body. Then physical body has a location. Well, I say I have a location. I, the consciousness, have a location. One thing. So light is located in a hand. Second thing, limitations of the hand is transferred to the light. Definitely. Limitation of the hand is transferred to the limitations of the light. Well, light has no limitation. Well, and same way limitation of this reflecting medium called physical body is transferred to the I, the consciousness. Limitation of the subtle body is transferred to the consciousness I. Limitation of the causal body is transferred to the consciousness I. And so basically, well, definitely you feel I, the consciousness, which is a limitless, well, feels limitations. So limitation actually don't belong to me. They belong to basically body, all the three bodies. But well, I take myself as a limited being. I am a consciousness all pervading. In fact, not these three bodies. All the bodies are in consciousness, right? When I say your physical body is, well, I have to put one thing together, and that is your physical body consciousness is. Your physical body is. So I should say your physical body consciousness is. Or physical body consciousness is. This physical body is. Well, this physical body consciousness is. That shows every physical body is pervaded by the consciousness. That is the reality. But I say, well, I am located here because you identify with this body and not identify with other bodies. And so you will have a location. In fact, all the physical bodies are in consciousness. All the subtle bodies, minds, etc., senses are in consciousness. But basically, since you identified, because with the one set of his bodies, and so you have a location, you have a limitations, etc. So, well, upon evident this ever-evident consciousness, we have transferred this bodily limitations, and to negate those limitations on I, which is a consciousness principle, well, and we should be handed over to this bodies also. Well, this thing has to be done. So, well, you have to negate all the limitations in the consciousness. You have to hand over these limitations to the body, etc. For that purpose, you will have to attend the class. What can we say? That is what it is. Now I will give you something more in this, which Pujya Swamiji has made a note at one place. Well, he says, basically, all these conclusions which we have, all these conclusions which, all the notions born of this ignorance and identifying with the body, and we have all these notions, all this go away in the wake of knowledge. And what are the conclusions? And he marks it also, that very few people really understand this particular thing. What? I am subject to ragadvesha. I am subject to punya papa. I am subject to sukha dukkha. I am subject to old age and death. I am subject to attachment. These are all conclusions centered on the self, born of from the identification with the physical body. Why? Because physical bodies are non-separate from the I. Physical bodies are mithya. Any mithya thing will definitely possess a satyam right there. And so the consciousness is present in all the three bodies, and they are non-separate from me, so close to me, and well, in absence of my knowledge, my own nature, knowledge of my own nature, I take these bodies, which are so evident and close to me, take them as a I. And from there, notions are born. What are the notions? I am subject to ragadvesha, which actually belong to subtle body. I am subject to punya papa, which all belong to subtle body, causal body, whatever you want to say. Sanchita, if you say, causal body. I am subject to sukha dukkha, again belong to physical body or subtle body. I am subject to old age and death, definitely belong to physical body. I am subject to attachments, belong to subtle body. Basically, all these are conclusions centered on the self. And self is opposite to your conclusions. And so, I am impure. I am subject to punya papa is a conclusion, which is not a fact. I am impure is a wrong notion. And therefore, in a class, somebody should tell you, you are shuddha. You are free from punya and papa. Why Atma Jnanam is required? Because Atma is self-evident. You don't require Atma Jnanam. We are saying you require. Because you have already notions. So many notions already built up in your mind. To remove all these notions, definitely one has to go through the Vedantic teaching. So I am ashuddha, I am impure is a conclusion. I am ragadvesha and therefore, I am having a ragadvesha and therefore I am ashuddha is a conclusion. No. I am shuddha is a fact. It has to be told by a Vedantic teacher. So word shuddha comes from the conclusion aham ashuddha. So if you have not concluded I am ashuddha, you that I am subject to punya papa or ragadvesha, you do not require this teaching at all. If you don't take yourself to be subject to sukha dukkha, subject to punya papa, subject to ragadvesha, subject to birth and death, subject to attachment, subject to old age and death, subject to hunger and thirst, if you don't take yourself and you take yourself free from all this, definitely you don't require Vedantic teaching at all. But you definitely hold all these notions. And that's how Pujya Swamiji says, from any standpoint, you will find this moksha is a very wonderful word. Because basically I am ashuddha, impure is a conclusion. I am free from the notion that I am ashuddha is moksha. Very beautiful. You see that what Swamiji says is, I am free from the notion that I am impure is moksha. Because there is freedom. Moksha means freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from the notion that I am ashuddha. I am impure. I am baddha. I am bound. Bound by the time. Bound by the place. Bound by certain physical limitation. Bound by emotional limitations. That is your conclusion. I am free from the notion that I am bound is a moksha. Could you follow what I am saying? So all these notions are there pertaining to the self, centered on the self, and they are from beginningless time. They are not going to go. They are not going to go so easily. And therefore one has to pass through the process of Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Atma Jnanam is required. If you whatever the notions I have told you, if you don't have any such notions that I am impure, etc., well, then definitely, and if you think that you are limitless consciousness, well, then there is no question of gaining knowledge. But in the I, well, along with this self-evident consciousness, all other also shine as the self, that is the bodies, etc., and the limitations of the body also. Everything shines in that I, which is ever-evident consciousness, and therefore to remove all these notions, definitely, and the limitations pertaining to this identification with the bodies, you definitely require Shravanam, Mananam, etc. Otherwise, this question is a very, very big question. Anyway, so, well, I am bound, etc. is a notion, and in order to gain that freedom from that notion, you require a teaching. Well, I am subject to aging, wailing, etc. No, you are free. You are not subject to aging. You are not, as I told you, right? Jara iva tishtati, well, vyagri, jara vyagri iva tishtati, paritarjayanti. Well, Vairagya Shatakam Bhartrihari says, this old age is threatening me. I am coming, etc. Like the tigress. Well, definitely, you are not subject to aging. You are not subject to wailing because you are not the physical body. So, well, we can understand why the word moksha is a common word pointing out freedom from all these conclusions. One word is sufficient. Moksha means freedom. Freedom means what? Free. Free from what? Free from all the notions which you are right now having it. And that will go with gaining of Atma Jnana. And therefore, it is very much required. And that's how, well, somebody asked this question. If moksha is when you say Atma is a moksha, Atma is free basically, why you have so many words? You use one word, moksha, because you say it is so beautiful word. Moksha means freedom, freedom from all notions. But how many notions are there? You should know. And so many, as many as notions, so many words. And therefore, just moksha does not work. I have to tell you, you are basically pure. You are Shuddha also, I have to tell you. Why? Because you already have a notion that I am impure. Since you have a notion that I am bound by the time, I have to tell you that you are Nitya, you are timeless. Why? Otherwise I don't require Nitya and Shuddha and etc. word. Mukta also you are not, that word also is not required. But since you take yourself as a bound, I have to tell you are free. And therefore, instead of one word called moksha, I have to use several words, Nityaha, Muktaha, Buddhaha, Shuddhaha, so many words are there. All are required. Asangaha. Yeah, because you find yourself connected. You tell also to me that I am related to so many people, Swamiji. In this particular Stoutsburg, I have so many relatives. You take yourself as a related person. So relative. Then I have to tell you that, but why you should tell me? Because in relationship, you have a lot of stress and strain and so many things. Sometimes you feel that you want to come out of all this relationship. And therefore, another word is required. You are asangaha. What can I say? And therefore, even though all are synonymous, basically, Nityaha, Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Muktaha, Asangaha, all these are synonymous to moksha. Therefore, I need not use all this and say you are mukta or you are moksha sarupa. I have to use several words because pertaining to every word, you are already having some notion. And thousands of notions, I have to use thousands of words to negate all the notions and to make you free from all the notions. And that is why we have so many words. But ultimate meaning is freedom from notions. And therefore, to gain this kind of a freedom from all the notions which you are already having from the beginningless time, because ignorance is beginningless, well, I am sorry to say, you have to attend classes, not of me or somebody else. What can I say? Anyway, so this is just by the. So, And then what will they teach? Mahavakya hi jivatma paramatmanoho aikyam vidyat. So through Mahavakya, a seeker should know essential oneness between Jivatma and Paramatma. So that ultimately in Shravanam, etc., Mahavakya Vichara only is done Aikyabodhya. All this Mahavakya is this Aikyabodhak Vakyam. And so, Aikyabodhak Vakyam, that's a definition. Any Vedic statement which reveals the identity between Jivatma and Paramatma is a Mahavakya. And between individual and the universal self is a Mahavakya, identity between them. So Shankaracharya says, may you inquire into that. You are not an individual. When you say you are individual, all these notions are there, definitely. All these notions, you are subject to birth and death, and you are subject to punya papa, and you are subject to raga dvesha. All this when you say that I am a jiva. But basically Mahavakya tells you are not jiva, you are Brahman. And then Brahman is definitely free from all these notions. Brahman has no raga dvesha, Brahman has no punya papa, Brahman has no janma and death. Brahman has no limitations, basically, and therefore by equating yourself, the individual, with the Brahman, well, through that Mahavakya, teacher make you drop the notions pertaining to this individuality. All these notions are, definitely may create a sense in you that you are a very, very limited person. And suffering, of course, samsara also will be there because of that. So, Aikyam Vidyat. So, basically, may you understand that the oneness between an individual, that is you, and Paramatma. Anyway, so, and we'll see that how it is to be done through Mahavakya. Of course, we have done it in Panchadashi also, but here also it has been referred. We'll do it in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om.